Test 1, 2. Hello, Millie O'Donnell.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, all from Indiana.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Mr. Deegan.
Hello.
I can't hear your name, Mr. Deegan, without thinking. I used to be the president of Slingerland Drums, and Slingerland had Slingerland Drums and Deegan Mallet Instruments. It was spelled different, Deagan, but every time I hear your name, it takes me back.
Well, I hope I represent the name well.
You do.
So where are you today?
I'm right here in Nashville,
In the Airstream.
in the Airstream, every day, in my office every day.
There you go.
It's a beautiful day here. I did the um, I did the Harvest Host thing last night, and Sherry from the club was hosting it live out of Ohio, and said there was quite a bit of thunder activity going outside. I don't know if you guys had those storms come through Indiana or not.
Well, if we did, I didn't notice it.
Uh,
I need a bigger desk. All my little plugs are crisscrossing here. I'm trying to charge my iPad and my phone, and nothing's, it's all, I should just knit one. I'm going to knit myself a bigger desk. That's the plan.
That
A
will
bigger
work.
desk means more crap, which means more problems. You just need no desk. That's the key.
Got rid of my big desk and I'm working on a small one. It is more efficient. I tend to keep the top of it much cleaner because there's less space. But today it just ended up, we just came off Stitching and Fishing, which is a big rally, and it's been all week sewing, and my upstairs has suffered because everything was about sewing and fabric, and I brought everything back up here, and a number of things landed on my desk, so now I'm trying to clean it off. Things that should have been charged didn't get charged, so I'm paying the
I don't
piper
know.
today.
I don't
But
know,
I made a
Millie.
quilt, so that's a good thing, and I'm not a
Yeah,
quilter.
yeah,
Millie,
but
if you need any help, we have a cat named Millie who would be glad to clean off your desktop for you.
That's perfect. She could help my cat Quinn, who loves to steal things off my desk.
Yep, exactly.
I get it. I get it. It's a cat thing.
Hmm
Well, if you knit a desk and then you use it to clean fish, that could be a disastrous result.
Oh, wow.
You're muted, Millie.
I would definitely not clean fish at my desk. That's an outside job for sure. I didn't,
Millie, I'm having
but the
trouble.
did brought tons of fish back and we had a big fish fry at the end of the rally. It was wonderful.
Millie, I'm having trouble. Can you hear or see me?
I can hear and see you. Yes, ma'am.
But am I frozen?
No.
No.
Weird.
Do you want to be frozen?
Kind of like that cartoon.
There are definitely days.
Mona's in her Airstream as well.
She is. We're in Tualatin, Oregon, a cute little campground that I never knew existed so close to me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Miss Strong. How are you?
Hot and sweaty. It seems like we just ran for an hour straight in the gym, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry you all have to see me like this.
We'll endure.
Thank you. I see my roomie down there. Hi,
Hey,
Patty.
calling in live from the nation's capital.
It looks sunny there too.
What's that?
It looks sunny. Is it sunny?
It's very, very warm. Yeah, it's back up into the high 80s.
We were lucky to have Mona at our Cali rally last weekend.
I had a great time. We love that rally.
It was a wonderful rally. Wonderful.
Very, very fun.
Is it held
Although-
this? Where was it held this year?
Same place at the V6 Ranch in Parkfield. I tried to ride a horse, but my recent hip surgery thing wasn't working for me, so I just petted it and walked it around the arena and then went back sad.
In
It was
2
fun.
years, you'll be able to.
Good. I'll hold you to that. John Deegan, that's a cute little picture of you.
I'm not exactly sure how this happened.
It's
I
very
like
dignified. That was darling. Petty Galupo, how are you?
What's going on, Mona?
Oh, we're just making our way up to Seattle, or Bend,
geez.
first Bend, and then up to Seattle, and then into Canada.
All
That's
right.
what's going on. It's been fun. How about you?
I've been kind of on the DL, running around. You know, I have this thyroid eye disease I've been dealing with for 2 years. So I've been running to eye doctor. So I'm set up to get some pretty nasty surgery, hopefully next month, that I can get back out rocking and rolling.
Good.
So I'm hopeful everything will work out.
So are we.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, bandmates.
Zellemeyer, welcome to the Hollywood Squares. Nice to see you on here this morning.
I want to know if anybody out there bought tickets to the Olympics or even signed up to get an opportunity to spend money at the Olympics. Anybody? Bueller?
Yeah, I did. Then I discovered how much it was going to cost.
Same thing here.
That was the
Yeah,
end of that.
$1,100 is ridiculous with the 25% processing fee. That's ridiculous.
Yep. We're going to wait and see if there's anything to scavenge closer to.
Have our own Olympics. It would be far more entertaining. Morning, Alan.
Hey, how are you?
Rachel Kendall, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Here? Who are we missing?
Lots of people.
Yeah.
But you got 2 minutes. That's a long time.
See Jim 5.
Hey, good morning, folks.
Jimmy,
Hey there. Hey, I have a question for Millie and Lori Grassi. I've got 4 motions, well, perhaps 3 motions that I'm presenting this morning. I wonder if I can get mine done in order and bump Kendall to right after, because I'm going to have to hit the road probably as soon as I do my motions.
You would just move to amend the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you.
Actually,
Will do.
in my agenda, I show them in that order anyway. I show Jim's first 4 up.
Okay, I'm looking at the meeting book, page, oh hell, I lost it, page 2. And it shows that I do motion handling, good standing. And then Kendall does item 10.5, and then I do 10.6.
Well, it
you
must have changed since I printed it out. I have no problem with you changing the order, as long as we get it all covered.
So at the beginning of the meeting, when you move to approve the agenda, you would just move 10.5 before, I'm sorry, 10.6 before 10.5.
I didn't ask Kendall if he minds.
Not at all.
Thank you, sir.
Kendall, isn't there a usual honorarium offered to you to move your motion around?
There is. It's been done already. We're staying at his place in June.
There you go.
Usually, no, that's perfect. Thank you. Oh, by the way, we put in a hot tub, Kendall. Bring your swimsuit.
Awesome.
Has anybody heard anything more from Jan?
Just that Charles is doing okay and they're day by day.
Okay, thank you.
He's sitting up eating breakfast this morning. So
Good.
Yeah, exactly. She said, modern medicine is amazing. He's, like you said, sitting up eating breakfast. Really? Wow.
Man,
Amazing.
there she is.
I'm convinced we're not too far from having a tricorder in our real world.
What?
A tricorder. Remember Star Trek?
I had children.
I hear you,
Hi,
John.
Jan. I see you down there. How's your hubby doing?
He's doing better today. He's been through a lot in the last 24 hours, but I got here this morning. He was eating breakfast slowly, but they just gave him a pain pill. He said, "Go to your meeting." So here I am.
That's good.
Yeah, leave me alone. Go to your meeting.
Millie, looks like we have everybody on screen or in the room.
All right. Let's get us called to order. Good morning. Happy to see everybody here. Kendall, will you do us a roll call, please?
Of course. President O'Donnell.
Present.
Vice President Hebner.
Here.
Secretary Felder, present. EC Councilmember Hamlin.
Present.
EC Councilmember Jarrett,
Present.
EC Councilmember Johansson,
Present.
EC Councilmember Klingler,
Here.
EC Councilmember Miller, didn't
Here.
hear her, but I do see her.
Can you
There
hear
she
me?
is.
Now we can.
Oh, you can
EC
hear me now?
Councilmember, yes, we hear you now, Verizon.
Thank you.
EC Councilmember Shaw,
Present and accounted for.
Past President Watts,
Present.
Region 1 President Junta,
Present.
Region 2 President Galupo,
Here.
Region 3 President Ely,
Present.
Region 4 President Patsfa,
Present.
Region 5 President Deegan,
Aye, sir.
aye. Region 6 President Gully,
Present.
Region 7 President Olson, I'm looking. Region 7 President Olson is not present. But I do see Region 7 Vice President Zellmeyer. Is Region 7 Vice President sitting in for Region 7's president? Okay.
I see Chuck shaking his head. I know I'm not hearing him. I don't know if anybody else is able to
I
hear
am not
Chuck,
either.
but he's here.
Okay.
We see him.
I'll fix that shortly. Region 8 President O'Connor.
Present.
Region 9 President Elkins.
Present.
Region 10 President McPhee.
Present.
Region 10, Region 11 President Holly.
John's hooked up via phone. This is Ron Jorgensen, Region 11 First VP. I'm present.
Okay, and Region 12 President Bloom.
Present.
Parliamentarian Grassi.
Morning.
Finance Director Rab.
Here.
Executive Director Tilton.
Here.
And Interim Technology Director Needham.
Here.
Madam President, we have 24 members present.
Thank you, Kendall. You want to go ahead straight into the approval of the minutes, please?
You want to approve the agenda first?
Pardon me?
You want to
To
approve
agenda. I
Okay,
move to amend the agenda.
I think Kendall has to do that.
Okay, thank you.
So Kendall, you were going to amend the agenda to move 10.6 prior to 10.5.
I moved that we amend the agenda to move item 10.6 prior to item 10.5 in the agenda.
a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
John Deegan.
Okay. Thank you.
Mel, you need to confirm any objection.
Anybody have any problems with that? Okay, hearing none, we go on to the approval of the minutes.
I move that the January 21st special meeting minutes be approved with correction. The correction is to the individual who seconded motion 2026-02. It should read Bill Hamlin, not Mike Pasfa. This will be corrected to read seconded by Bill Hamlin.
Millie, you can accept without objection if nobody's got a problem.
I can accept it. No objections. Kendall?
I move that the February 15th special meeting minutes be accepted with correction in the roll call. Jenny Schnettler is listed as being present in the meeting. However, this is an error. The meeting minute roll call will be corrected to remove Jenny Schnettler from the roll call.
Objection? That's accepted. Kendall?
I move that the February 23rd reorganization meeting minutes be accepted with correction. Correction again is in a roll call. Jenny Statler was once again listed as being present at the meeting. She was not. This was an error. This will be corrected to remove Jenny Statler from the roll call. Additionally, EC member Cody Klingler was not listed at all in the roll call, and this will be also corrected to add EC member Cody Klingler to the meeting minute roll call.
Objections? Thank you. Thank you, Kendall. I know
There's
that's a lot of work.
There's one, excuse me, there's one more. Kendall, you are going to have October meeting minutes approved, please.
Oh, yes, it wasn't listed. So I moved that the October 2025 IBT meeting minutes be accepted as written.
To look at those through email.
Yes.
Okay. No objections. Those are accepted. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. We'll move on to the Executive Council reports. I don't have a lot to go over this morning other than it's been nice. I've had some great conversations with some of you. We're all looking forward to Minot, seeing how many different groups are doing their little mini caravans and come-alongs from different parts of the country. That's kind of exciting. I'm going to move it on to Lori.
Thanks, Millie. My executive director's report is in the packet. I just want to update as of today. We have this morning 10,306 memberships in the club. Also, I hope you guys had the opportunity to see. If not, we had a Harvest Host ACI webinar last night, which was over 300 of our members attended. Just Q&A, making sure they understand the process, which I think it was a great success last night. So if you didn't get to see it, I know we're going to have some training videos and other things pulled out of last night's webinar and posted down the road. Also, bring to everybody's attention that in the airstream.org, airstreamclub.org leadership portal, the team has been working on some of the how-tos, and we've got how to form a new local club, how to form an interclub. We are wrapping up how to make a name change, things of that nature. So it helps you as officers to go one place and have those resources right there for you and the steps you need to follow. So those are published as of this point. The other thing we've been working on, and I'll get you a number I know we're dialing down, is that we have been requesting updated sub-license agreements, something we need to start doing annually. We have 91 submitted so far. I know we have 128 total that we need to acquire. So as soon as I have those numbers, and whoever the region president or the liaison is, will be reaching out to you with assistance of getting these things finalized so we can get this done for this year. So that's about all I have right now. Millie?
Thank you very much. And thanks to the team. I know it's a lot of work getting those things done. Lori Grassi, can I get you to give an update?
On 2026-02?
Yes.
Yes. The interviews are almost completed. The consultant team will be meeting next week to assure that everybody who has, everybody's been offered an interview and an opportunity to talk with the interviewer. And then they will start working on their draft report. We signed the contract approximately March 1, and the goal was 90 days. So we suspect right now they're a little ahead of time. So as long as everybody gets their interviews scheduled by Tuesday of next week, we should be good to go.
Perfect. So the message is clearly, if you haven't scheduled, please do. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Kendall, you had a question?
I do,
Tracy?
but not relation to Lori Glossie's thing. I have to go back with something else.
For 1 second then, Tracy, this is in relation to Lori's update?
Yes, I haven't heard from the interviewers. Do I need to reach out to them?
Thanks, Tracy, for sharing that. Those of you who were not at the strategy session were not explicitly listed. President Hawley asked me for the same thing. If you want to be interviewed, I'm happy to share information, but it was specifically those involved in the grievance and then the strategy session. But any of you, there were 5 of you that were not there. I know at least one person who was not there has been interviewed. So if you want to be interviewed and you have not been offered, just tell me now and I will have her reach out to you.
Thank you.
Or you can text me private if you would rather keep that private.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate that. Kendall?
My go back is listen to the roll call. I have a correction to make.
Do?
I was going from memory and I needed to call Airstream Inc. For the roll call, and they're not present.
So in the past, we would always include them in the roll call. We understand that they are wicked busy and very, very rarely come into a meeting, if ever.
Actually,
So
Molly is here with her hand up.
Oh, yay.
So Amanda, can you promote Molly so she can speak, please?
Kendall, you would list Airstream Inc. trustee as the official listing.
Okay, will do.
Sorry, that was a lot of work just to say I'm here.
We're happy you're here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Committee reports. Shall we start with Alan?
We can do that. It's going to be a little long today. I've got 3 or 4 things to update y'all on, if that's okay.
If you wouldn't mind, if the board wouldn't mind, could we jump to Jim's motions and go through those so that he can jump off since he has an appointment? Is that agreeable? Jim, are you prepared to do that?
I am.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, this won't take long, I don't think. First, the Constitution and Bylaws Committee respectfully requests to withdraw motion number 2025-47 titled "Who May Present a Motion to IBT?" and motion 2025-48 revision 1 titled "Motions Handling." I'm withdrawing those motions on behalf of CBL Committee. And so the first motion that I'm presenting today is 2025-58. The title is "Remove in Good Standing from Blue Book Policy." Let's see. Madame Parliamentarian, do I read the motion next?
Yes.
Motion. I move to amend policies to remove the term "in good standing" in the following policies as stated in Exhibit 1. There's a list of 8 policies. Shall I read them all?
Yes. Read your rationale, background, and purpose.
Okay, well, no, I'm sorry. Should I read the list of policies that are affected?
You list the numbers. If everybody has read through them, they shouldn't need a full reading.
The policies to be amended are policy 4.12.3A, policy 8.6.2, C3A, policy 8.6.2, C3B, policy 12.4.1A, policy 12.4.1 C1, policy 16.6.6A, policy 16.6.6 F, and policy 16.6.10, E, 1, A. I think I don't go for a second because it's from a committee. The purpose and impact is to clean up language of the policies by removing an undefined and unhelpful term referring to members. Background. A member is defined in the WBCCI Constitution as one who has applied for membership and paid international dues. Good standing incorrectly infers that there may be members not in good standing. A member who has paid their dues and continues to own an Airstream is a member. There's no lesser variety of member. There's no definition of the term, nor is there support for its use in WBCCI policy. There's no financial impact. There's no WBCCI IT impact.
Jim, I have one question with regard to this impact on club bylaws. Will we modify the model CBL for clubs? Because I know lots of clubs use that term and they will ask these region presidents lots of questions.
Okay, two things. The next motion asks the IBT to allow removal of good standing from bylaws. This winter, the CBL committee will ask the IBT to approve a motion to go to the membership next year to remove the term good standing from the Constitution. However, with the removal of it from the bylaws and policy, we will recommend that clubs no longer use the term. As I say, the term has no meaning in our membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a second?
No, you
Came from it came from a committee without objection?
Mike
I have
has
a question.
I'm sorry, Mike?
So what if they've been suspended? What does that do to that motion? Since it's not in good standing, it's not in bad standing. Go ahead.
Someone has been suspended, for example, as the result of a grievance order. That would be a temporary situation, one would hope, and it's not something that we would address outside the grievance rules and regulations. So a person is, according to our rules, a member, like Jim said, by paying their dues and having an Airstream, period. Does that make sense?
Yeah, partially. So you pay your dues, you own an Airstream, 2 months into your membership, you get suspended. You've paid your dues, you own an Airstream.
But you're a suspended member. So the word suspended by definition means a pause. So temporarily, you wouldn't come under the umbrella of membership until your suspension ends or is lifted. Make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Lori?
I was just going to make comment that when there's a member that is suspended or expelled, their membership profile represents that. So they would, for example, no longer be in the membership reporting for standard members.
Thank you. Michael G., good morning.
Yeah, I'm wondering, and obviously it's difficult for us to go back and look. Obviously, that was put in an earlier year. Was there ever a previous reference to in good standing in previous documents that we could reflect back on to understand why that was specifically added?
May I address that, Madam President? Okay. Michael, that's a great question. There's no evidence that this was ever added, but rather we think that it is original language. Joe, historian, could tell us how early it started, but it is a typical term in other organizations to use in good standing. It's very typical to see it, but lacking a definition of less than good standing, it means nothing for our club. We don't allow people not in good standing to stand as members. We're not going to say that out loud. We're not that way. We're an inclusive group. In good standing makes it sound like maybe we're not inclusive.
Does that clear it up? Okay. Lori T.,
Yes.
we had one question regarding this online. Do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, I just answered the question that came through is that if somebody is sells their Airstream, they can remain in the club if they don't buy another brand, which is correct. That's our policy. But it's no reflection of this motion.
Still,
I mean,
it does
they paid their dues.
right. It does not affect that rule
Yes.
whatsoever, taking the
Yes.
good standing out.
Yes.
Okay. Jim, did you have another question?
I'll wait until after Mr. Deegan's point. Thank you.
Okay. John?
I have a question on this. We're doing the bylaws changes now, and then next year we'll do the constitutional removal. If the membership does not remove in good standing from the Constitution, what does that mean for what we remove from the bylaws? And perhaps we should do the constitutional removal before the bylaws changes. If, just waiting to see if in fact the whole membership approves the removal of that term.
Jim, you want to address that?
Wait for Ms. Grassi. Thank you.
Okay. Lori?
So the term in good standing is generally used as a gatekeeping method. The problem with our documents is it's not defined. So if it's nebulous in that you pay your dues and own an Airstream and that's it, then that's it. But President Deegan's question is valid. It's up to the board if you want to decide to unwind it from the Constitution back, or if you want to unwind it from the policies up.
If I may, two things then. Thank you, Ms. Grassi. First, thank you to Joe Poplinski, our historian. He has advised me that as far back as the 1980 Constitution, good standing shows up. As far back as the 1980, he's still walking back. Oh, excuse me. It's also in the 1964 Constitution. So thank you, Joe. That supports my point that it goes back pretty far, right, David? Isn't he great? To the other point, the C and BL committee is perfectly willing, if the IBT so recommends, to hold this in accordance with Mr. Deegan's suggestion. We would defer on this and also on the next motion for bylaw. Although I will say again, even if it stays in the Constitution, it does not mean that it needs to show up in either bylaw or policy at any time. It can remain in the Constitution, and it does not have to be showing up in our rules for action because it's not actionable. Thank you.
Jim? All right, since the suggestion for the change has come up, I would like to just see a vote on how many would like to wait for the Constitution.
Well, you have a motion on the floor, so you can't do a secondary motion unless you amend the motion.
Do we want
Say
to,
that-
it makes no sense to me to amend, never mind. Do you want us to amend the motion?
I don't want you to do anything. It's not up to me what you want
Right,
either.
but to me, it makes no sense to amend the motion. I would say we just table it until we deal with the Constitution first, if that's the consensus. And that's what I was looking for, was a vote from the board on consensus or not to wait.
There's a question from Mr. Junta.
I know I was waiting for Lori to make sure she understood where I was going.
I would second Millie in tabling the motion.
So then is Millie officially amending the motion, or are you just tabling it? You're either make a motion to table or you amend it. So what I'm hearing, Jim, is that maybe you want to withdraw this one until, otherwise you have to officially move to table it.
May I, Madam President, may I speak? Okay. The CBL committee chair gratefully accepts the body, the suggestions, and will withdraw these two motions for consideration later. We will deal with the constitutional issue and in fact, we'll have some discussions with the IBT members before this winter so that we can discuss the importance and validity. But we withdraw the motion at this time, and also we withdraw motion 2025-59. Thank you, Madam President.
Jim, and if I can just interject that what just happened is a perfect example of when the book comes out, read the book, read it again, read it again. If you have questions, bring them up, because then we can prevent the 10 minutes of this. Not being grumpy, just saying to save us all a little time. Let's be efficient. Thank you, John, for catching that and bringing it up.
Okay, I have next motion.
Yes, please.
2025-67, 5-year updates of local club and intra-club constitutions and bylaw documents. I move to amend Bylaws Article 6, Section 3, to eliminate the requirement for 4 draft printed copies of the proposed documents, to clarify that the requirement for update and review of constitutions and bylaws is every 5 years, to add intra-clubs in these requirements, and to clarify that the updated documents are emailed to the Constitution and Bylaws Standing Committee as stated in Exhibit 1. This is from the Constitution and Bylaws Committee. The purpose is to clarify the intent of the existing bylaw is to update club governing documents at least every 5 years. It eliminates the requirement for multiple printed copies, and it extends the same requirements to intra-clubs as local clubs. The background, over time, the lack of a formal review and enforcement process has resulted in some local clubs and intra-clubs extending their constitution and bylaws updates well beyond the intended 5-year review cycle. Formerly, clubs would submit 4 printed copies of the documents to headquarters, but electronic documents processing has replaced the need for that. Intra-clubs weren't specifically included in the first paragraph of these requirements. There's no financial impact to the international club. This will help some with printing costs and mailing for the members, the local clubs and intra-clubs that might have still been following the rule. There's no WBCCI IT impact.
And again, Lori, this was from committee?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we don't need a second. Without objection? The motion passes. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you and the committee's efforts on these.
Thank you
Kendall,
very much, Madam President. And if I may, I will ask to be excused from the meeting.
absolutely. Hope it all
Okay.
goes well.
Thank you.
Millie, do you want to finish motions or do you want to go back to the agenda where you paused?
I apologize, Kendall. Alan, you ready to go? Thank you.
I am ready to go. Okay, let me share my screen. Make sure y'all can see this. Uh-oh. Can y'all see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put it in a different format because I don't like this one. All right, can you still see it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let me go through. It shows that I've got 65 pages here, but I'm not going to go through all 65 pages. First, my forward-looking statement saying that I'll be talking about things in terms of anticipating and what I think the year is going to look like on a full year basis. Those are forward-looking statements. They're not guarantees of what the future performance is going to look like. My intent of this presentation is to update you on where we finished 2025, since we didn't get a chance to do that in January, and then talk about the plan for 2026 and where we are through Q1. I also in this have a few other things to go through. So the first 5 black dots are about my normal quarterly update. The green are things that are new that you did not see in your pre-read. The reason you did not see them in your pre-read is I just finished them a couple days ago. So there has been I've received some questions about the club financials, audits. I got some additional questions via email over the last couple of days. I've responded to those people, but I wanted to make sure I briefed y'all on it as well. And we've got a new project that we've just kicked off. I wanted to get you briefed on. And then the other thing that we've done in here is the accumulation of the annual club and region treasury reports. I've got the results of where that has all come out. So that was due at the end of the year, as y'all know. And I want to make sure that y'all are briefed on that. And then there's a ton of support schedules. So any questions before I start rocking through this stuff? No? Good. All right, first. So let me give you my MD&A. For those of you that's management decision and analysis, it's just a summary of what's in this deck. So number 1, which is the thing that was on a couple of the comments that I received, which I know is on a lot of people's minds about our legal spending. In all of our results, it is clouding the numbers in terms of when we look at our comparison to plan. So year-to-date legal expenses, they've changed. It's not 46.4, it's up to $60,000 at this point. Our budget's only $4,500 for the year, which is what we spend every year, is about $4,500. The forecasted expenses for the balance of the year, we expect them to increase because we still have legal fees that we incur on a normal basis. So they will increase. How high? I don't know. But at this point where it's about $60,000, the negative variance will fund from the operational reserve. Without these year-to-date expenses in here, we're pretty much on plan. There are little hiccups I'm going to go through, but we're pretty much on plan. And then I'll come into the funding out of the operational reserve when we get to the reserve slide. George Beckwith hopefully is dialed in. He's going to walk us through some stuff that we've been doing with him on caravan accounting and banking, and some of the work that we've done on consolidating and reporting some of his reserve monies, and you'll see that in our reserve schedule. Our reserves are up to about $500,000, about $500,000. About a year and a half ago, they're $200,000, so we're making significant progress towards our $750,000 goal. We will deplete the reserve so we get cash back into our business, because right now we've been using our operational cash to be able to fund the excess legal costs. So we will deplete the reserve by $60,000 in order to replace that cash. Reserve contributions are planned at $100,000 for this year, and we are on track through a first quarter with our contributions. We did contribute $25,000 to the reserves. Our mortgage is down about a third versus the initial loan of just shy of $500,000 for about $319,000. And then just a note in red on the bottom, all of our numbers on here are to a full year 2025. This is the first time this has occurred. Because remember, when we changed our fiscal year, we were on a August 1st to July 31st. And so we got a little wonky in terms of our comparisons to that. Then we went through a stub period on August 1st through December 31st. So you couldn't really compare to that last year either. So this is the first time in 18 months we've had a really good comparison on our current year performance for 2026 against a full year of the new fiscal year, which started January 1st of 25. So the good comparisons here, there's nothing wonky anymore with it. So, okay. Questions before I click? I won't stop on every one of these for questions, but just want to make sure y'all are on pace with me here. Okay. George, are you there?
I'm here.
There you go. This is your slide, buddy.
All right. You can see what's going on. Sally McDonald, I actually am going to have a call with she and Alan hopefully this afternoon. So she's up and running. The request from the club to have receipts submitted to the club so they can support their financial records and their tax return, you know, what's reported on the tax return. We're working on that. The biggest thing that we have to work on with that process is making it easy on the caravan leaders. The easier, the better for them. So we're going to come up with a couple things, electronic repository for all records if they need it, and hopefully an envelope where they can just send things in, because sometimes scanning on the road's a little tricky. So we're working on the documentation of receipts and the spreadsheet so that when you have receipts, and all caravans have this, a way to link those receipts back to what is reported. Improve financial reporting. When Alan said that financial reporting has been modernized and things like that, what he really means is in the past, the caravan results have not been consolidated or consistently included in the club's books or tax return. And there, you know, it was just for whatever reason, the caravan fund, for instance, wasn't included. And not all of the caravans were included. And that's what modernizing it means. The caravan fund, for instance, is now reported on the caravans or on the club's books, as well as on the club's tax return. It should have always been that way. It just wasn't. But there obviously are a lot of rumors, which I'm sure some of you may have heard, some of you haven't, that say that all the caravan fund money's gone. It's actually in the same bank account with the same stuff. None of it's gone anywhere. It's still there. It's just we're now reporting it on the club's books as it should have been. The motion about, I don't know if there's any questions about that, but if there are any, I'm happy to take them either during this or after this. The motion about 1099 requirements. And this is something that's there, that's required. It should have always been done, but it just spells it out a little more. And I hope it is never, ever invoked. But if a caravan leader uses caravan funds for personal purposes that are not approved as part of the caravan, let's say he wants to take an excursion for an ATV ride. I don't know, maybe he wants to fix his trailer. I don't know what he does with it. Then we're going to ask him to pay it back, because they shouldn't have done that. If they don't pay it back and we can't get it back, then that is taxable income to them. Just like any other thing. If you were to do this at work, the same thing would happen. And we should report it on a 1099 NEC for them. And so that's what that motion was about. It's just to say that we'll follow the tax laws. We would have to do it if you don't approve the motion, because it's a requirement. Sadly, we have had this happen. We have had people take money from the club, and we had some happen last year. Luckily, it's only a couple of $100s, where a caravan leader said he would pay us the money that was in the account. He paid us half and said he'd pay us the other half when we cashed the check. He just made that up. He's in control. It's in a personal bank account, and he never paid us the rest of it. So it is what it is. And we're working at the club level for a solution on Canadians. We would like caravan leaders years, and we decided that, to work more from a club perspective. Caravan leaders sometimes need access to Canadian bank accounts for Canadian cash when they operate in Canada, the ability to pay with a Canadian credit card or what have you. We don't have that today without more of a club solution in Canada. So we're working on that. There's something set up. It's not overly complicated, but it would allow us a similar banking relationship in Canada for the club that we have in the US. So that is ongoing. It should be a lot simpler, and it could add benefits to the membership at large. For instance, with this setup, it's possible that the club could accept Canadian dollar registration payments, could make refunds to people in Canadian dollars, which currently the club doesn't have the ability to do. And the reserve for caravans is now reported centrally. That is just saying, once we move the caravan fund onto the club's books, we put a bunch of cash there. The offset is the reserve that shows we're holding this cash for this reason. But the cash is still there. The reserve is still there. And I think that's pretty much about it. I don't know. Are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it. The intent of me having George ping in here is we have been doing a ton of work with George on caravan accounting and making sure we can make that symbiotic with the club. And he and his team have been fantastic. Sally McDonald, who headed our treasurer's handbook, is now dedicated to George as a caravan accounting person or caravan finance person, if you will. It was Timi Ann Neary. Timi Ann resigned from the club. And so we had to find somebody new. So Sally just took this role on about 2 weeks ago. So that we're excited to see her in that. All right, so let's go into the financials now. This is my busiest schedule here. So
Alan, you have a question.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know
sorry.
if you saw.
Yeah,
Ken
go
has
ahead,
to say.
Ken.
Yeah, from a historical perspective, I understand that in 1985, the Caravan Club was spun off into its separate entity, separate tax ID number and separate tax return. And so my concern is in order to transfer money into the international club, it would take an action of both boards, the board of the international club and the board of the caravan club, to approve that. Without that, I think it raises the ability of the club to take any money from any other of the clubs and regions and such.
Can I address that to you, Ken?
Sure.
Please.
The caravan club, and every caravan has a separate federal ID number for banking purposes. But even in 1985, and just like every club has a federal ID number, but the requirement for every club is they actually have separate governance. And as you know, on a Form 990, there's a lot of discussion about governance and fiduciary stuff. There is no board, nor has there ever been elected or appointed by the board of ACI, Wally By and Caravan Club, a specific board of the caravan separately, but they have had a bank account and they have had a federal ID number. They did take their money out of when the club was almost insolvent. They did take their money out and put it in a separate bank account that they managed. And that's where they got the separate ID number, but there's no board. And as we discussed at the strategy meeting, Ken, without a board and without a charter, the Caravan Club never had a specific charter from the club, and has no governance other than they appoint me and I can appoint whoever on a committee that I like. It's required by the IRS that when you have separate governance, that you have a separate ID number. That's a requirement. We don't have separate governance, and I think you even agreed that the board of the caravan, if you really wanted it to be separate, if you agree with that, whether we agree or not, would be the ACI IBT. So the ACI IBT would be the caravan program, as it's referred to as board. We do not have separate and distinct members from the club that we can identify like a local chapter would, where they can identify theirs. Our members are exactly the same as the members of ACI. So we have the same members and the same governance. So if ACI would like to adjourn and appoint themselves, they need to elect themselves if there's some board, then they can do that and they should act accordingly. But there is no governance outside of ACI or outside of the Wally Byam Caravan Club. There isn't another caravan club that has a board or separate and distinct members that would be required, nor was there a charter. So I think that's up to you guys to decide to move things from the left pocket to the right pocket if that's what you want to do. But regardless, I really don't see what point that makes.
Can I respond?
Yeah, absolutely.
The tax return does list the board, and it shows board members.
We've not filed a tax return in many years. The Caravan Club has not. And if the Caravan Club is separate and distinct from ACI, then I will find said board, and I guess we'll go off and take our money and do our thing. Is that what is proposed? We can't, I guess if that's what you're saying, that to me is absurd.
I am in receipt of the latest Caravan Club tax return, so that's not true.
Tax returns are not boards and not anything. It's not the same thing. It is not a corporation. It is a something for filling out taxes. You and I both know that, or at least I know that. But if you believe there is a separate governance and a separate board, I will convene that board and we will go our merry way. If that's what you're suggesting, I think that is absurd for the Wally Byam Caravan Club International to think that is the case.
I believe that is the case, and I believe there is a separate board, and I think that needs to be recognized.
I will convene said board, and you will hear from us later for our money, if that's what you want me to say. That's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard, honestly. I don't mean to be personally offensive, but that makes no sense for the Wally Byam Caravan Club International, and I think that this should be taken offline, possibly. If you have accounting experts and legal experts, I think you should avail yourselves of their input. But I respectfully disagree with that interpretation that the Caravan Club is a separate and distinct club from the Wally Byam Caravan Club.
May I say one more thing?
Ken, hold on. No, hold on. We're not gonna beleaguer this issue any longer. We talked about it in the strategy session. We can talk about it offline. We need to continue the meeting. Ken, thank you. George, thank you. Alan, continue, please.
Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so the first slide I want to show you here is probably the more detailed one, so hang with me on it if you would. So let me walk you through this column by column. So on the left here, I've got our membership. So let's just use 2025. It was ended the year at 10,463. Our income here was $1,394,000. Our expenses were $1,361,000. When you take into account interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, our net income for the club was minus $26,000. The international rally made 166. The caravan and us processing that through headquarters, we lost 7,700. So net, the total club ACI, the total ACI, including caravan and IR, made $131,000 last year. So that's the way you would read this column here. Our budget for 2026 is right here. Okay. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And then our actuals for first quarter are here. So the numbers probably don't mean a lot. What I like to focus on is this orange block, right? I turned it orange instead of green this quarter because of the following. So let's go through these comments one by one. Membership, was planned at a 1% increase versus 2025. You recall when I presented this budget for approval last year, it was minus 2%. But what happened was our membership did not grow to what our forecasted growth was at the end of 2025, so it was lower. So since our membership was lower, the planned increase on membership, actual membership members, was at 1% versus the -2. But what I used to plan revenue was a -2% membership decline. So the revenue in terms of the P&L was pure in terms of I planned the revenue at a 2% decline. So through first quarter, last quarter, Q1 2025, we were at 63% of our budget in terms of people that have renewed or joined the club. Our budget was planned at -15% on the revenue line item because in addition to planning 2% down on membership, I also planned down on some other items in the P&L like merchandise and Blue Book revenue and some other things just to be conservative to make sure that we can hit our revenue number. We're at 47% of our income number through first quarter. I'm confident we'll get there by the end of the year, but right now we're down a little bit versus the 63% of budget we were at last year. In terms of expenses, all right, we're up here on the very top. 25% of our year is elapsed because we're through one quarter. Right now, we've spent 31% of our approved dollars, okay? We're trending about $75,000 over plan. There's two reasons for that. $41,000, that is the legal expenses. And remember, I told you our budget was $4,500. We've spent $41,000. So we're over on our legal expenses, which contributes to 41 of the 75,000. The other one is prepaid insurance and taxes. We pay those all at once. So I pay the insurance for the full year in first quarter. So as a result, what happens, it looks like we're over budget in our insurance budget, but we're not. As we move through the year, it will smooth because I wrote a $30,000 check for insurance for the full year instead of writing a $3,000 check every single month. Because we're in a cash-based accounting and not an accrual-based accounting, if that makes any sense to anybody. So that's where we are. So I feel pretty good about where we are. Right now in International Rally, Ken, I think you brought this up last time. This shows that we're $654,000 favorable to our plan. The reason for that is because we're on a cash base, right? In other words, our budget for Caravan was something like $800,000. We've only written $150,000 of checks. As we write more checks, this will come back into line. I expect this to be about a $100,000 profit for Caravan, and for International Rally. And I expect the Caravan, this is a timing issue on the 85,000. Caravan will come in at 0 for the year is what we're forecasting. So what does all this mean? All this means we're forecasted at a $30,000 loss for the year. And that's really because of our large reserve contribution of 100,000 here. As this trues itself up, we'll land this plane at breaking even for the year with maybe the exception of the legal expenses, okay? But from a cash perspective, I'll get the cash from the reserve, so we're not cash poor in our club in order to pay our bills. But from a plan standpoint, I anticipate we'll be over at a minimum for the legal costs unless I can find savings somewhere else in the budget, okay? So that's that. Now, one of y'all had sent in a question. I don't recall who. The person isn't important, but they wanted a decomp of the 2025 International Rally profit. We made 166,000. People like, why in the hell did we make so much money? Well, what I did was I detailed here for you all but $894. So I think I got most of it for you. So rally income was favorable about 10 grand. Exhibitor income, we got a grant that Debbie Wood applied for, which was unexpected, and sponsorships were all favorable. So those three items right there make up about $80,000 to $90,000 of our favorability, and then the rest of the stuff is not huge dollars. This operational costs, we plan to have operational costs, which is really travel for the advanced team and postage that we didn't incur. So our advanced team didn't spend the money we thought they were going to spend. We've adjusted that in the Minot budget. So anyway, that's the decomp of the IR for 2025. As you recall, I also did one for, I think, Sedalia last year, and I think I did one for Rock Springs as well. So I'll continue to report these out as we finish up these events. The reserve and the mortgage. So here's my reserve statement. So this is the same as what you've seen, except for this pink column and this yellow column over here are new. So in the reserve, here's our reserve goal, top on the green line. We, and the motion we passed a couple of years ago, said we wanted to reserve $750,000 across these three reserve categories: operational, technology, and capital. I'm keeping the history on here, so you know in 2024 we contributed $250,000. In 2025, another roughly $250,000. And then for Q1, we did our planned deposit of $25,000. So down here in the green on the bottom, these are our current balances. So if Mark Nigem and Kendall come forward and say, we want to go spend 100 grand on technology ABC, they'd come to the IBT, put forward a motion to be able to do that. I've got $202,000 to help them out to do that, right? So we've got cash at 202 for technology. We're sitting on 168 of operational reserve. This is where the $60,000 to pay the legal bills will come from, okay? So we've got the money. The notes off here to the side is what George just talked about. So I'm not going to belabor this whole thing, but he's got $68,000 in his caravan reserve. It was closer to 100, but as you recall the conversation that we had last year before we implemented the convenience charge on the caravans, the ACI, the club actually loaned caravans $36,000 so they could pay their credit card bills and their convenience charge bills. And so they have paid that back. And so this was $100,000. He's repaid the $36,000 back to the club, and he is left with $67,000. Given we invest this in money markets, he made $267,000 in interest in the first quarter. So when you look at George's numbers included, you're in at 573 for reserve, but this is George's and at his discretion. So the mortgage, not much has changed in the mortgage from what I told you before. 319, as I said a minute ago. Our principal reduction for first quarter through our normal payments is $4,000. I did not make any additional principal payments in the first quarter, and I don't anticipate making any additional principal payments till at least fourth quarter. Okay, I'll stop there because my next section is on questions, club financials, audits, the questions I've received. I want to make sure you all are briefed on that and how I've responded to all of those. So questions before I move on? Okay, let's move into this. All right, club finances. So I want everybody to be on the same page for club finances because there's a lot of swirl going around about this, and I do my normally quarterly report out, and then after the board meeting's over, I get a bunch of questions and stuff. So people have actually asked, why have we not done an audit? So I'm happy to engage in a formal audit. It's going to cost you, round numbers, $75,000 to $100,000, okay? And so before we engage in a formal audit, I want everybody to understand what is in an audit and what's not in an audit. So because if you expect something out of an audit that we're not going to deliver, I want to make sure you understand. So cost is going to be $75,000 to $100,000 based upon the scope. We could scope it down to small and spend $35,000. We can make it large and spend $200,000. We can do whatever we want. Performance of and analytical procedures. It's about understanding the adequacy of our internal controls and assessing the risk and any material misstatements they may see in the financials. Performance or verification and substantiation of our procedures is what it's done. And I'm going to come into the response to our comment that Ken had and tell you exactly some of the things we've done against that second point there. And then are we in accordance with the financial reporting framework that we have outlined and what's expected in our Constitution and bylaws? What it is not, it doesn't evaluate a management decision. So if we make a decision to go spend $50,000 on something, they don't come in and say, you shouldn't have spent $50,000 on that. It doesn't evaluate management's decisions. And there's no absolute assurance against fraud or misstatement. They go in and they look for those things, but there's no absolute assurance when they finish it. They say, absolutely, there's no fraud or misstatements in these books and records. They audit them and try to discover if there is, but if they don't find anything, they don't find anything. It's a total review of all transactions, which in Ken's statement that he made in social media not too long ago, you talked about that, Ken. So I'm going to come and address that here in just a second. So it's not intended to find non-material errors like the $200 George talked about in caravans. Likely they wouldn't find something like that. That's not material to the total. And they look at internal and management financial reporting. So they look at what we're doing and what we're reporting out to the board. I'm sorry, they don't look at what we're doing and reporting out to the board. So that's what it is and what it is not. Whether we're going to do an audit or not, I'm not asking for a decision here. I just wanted to make sure you're briefed. So if we choose to go do an audit and we want to put a motion forward to do that, you actually understand and have some data as you're making your motion. Okay, Ken. So Ken on March 30th, and I had committed that as I got comments and questions in, I'd come back to this group every quarter and I would report back out against those comments and questions. So Ken, you actually said in this post that when you're on the International Finance Committee, you looked at the details of the club and you didn't find any significant issues. You found some examples that could be debated, but nothing significant. We had some misclassification of stuff into employee benefits, which we've now fixed, but he didn't see the need for a full audit. You further stated that you changed your opinion on the financials and how they're reported. So I'm going to go through each of these and talk about where we have moved since you were on the finance committee, where we've moved from then to where we are now. So everybody understands that we haven't been sitting on our hands the last couple of years. We've actually done some stuff, right? So I don't know if there's something members aren't getting, I need to know it, right? I don't know it because people aren't telling me, right? So if I'm not doing something in reporting you need or something in communication you need, I just need to know it. I'm responding to everything I'm getting as quickly as I can. But if there's something they're not getting, I need to understand. So quarterly reporting. So let me go through what we have done since Ken, since you reviewed that stuff and didn't find any significant issues. So we've gone from like one paragraph of report out against the club's financial health to about 20 or so pages every quarter. This month, it's got 65 pages of detail for you on disclosure of financial health. I think we've been doing a pretty good job. I don't know if that's too much information, if I need to take it back, if I'm overwhelming people, if it's too technical, if I need to talk about it different. But if there's something I need to do differently, please, everybody, let me know. Number 4, what's changed since your time in the finance committee? So we added a bunch of specialists in the finance committee we review the books every quarter, independent of Lori. And the finance director. So I'm not involved in that. So the finance committee people take the balance sheets and the income statements and review it to make sure everything's been reported properly. We make on a regular basis journal entries every single quarter to fix, I don't want to say errors, but fix things that we need to change in the books. We separated the book from one big accumulation. It used to be the club, international, and caravan was all kind of mishmashed together. That's all been separated out into separate P&Ls for both a general ledger and a banking perspective. And then we put in place more internal controls. I'm not going to read through all these, but we've passed 14 motions in the last 18 months to 2 years in terms of internal controls, policies, and procedures. And you can see those listed there. Number 5, we've completed over 30 projects. I'm going to brief you on another one here in just a second about financial health and controls. And I think this one we're working on now is going to take us a lot further down that road. 6, the full IBT. I've been in the last 2 strategy meetings up in Ohio. I think 2 years ago, Millie, check me if I'm wrong, I think I spent about 4 to 4.5 hours briefing the IBT on everything financial. I think this last year I spent 90 minutes or 2 hours doing the same thing and going through all the details. So all the detail has been shared with the IBT. And so I did get a email from somebody that the IBT hasn't seen this stuff. Actually, they have. Mortgage debt's down, reserves are up. We just talked about that. We've not lost money in 2 years. We've got approved balanced budgets, including reserve contributions over the last 2 years. So we've done a lot, you know, since your time on the finance committee, Ken. And I wanted to make sure I properly addressed your comment to let you know that I hadn't ignored it. Okay, so that's where we are now. I'm going to go through these last 2 and then I'm going to stop. Okay, so here's 2 questions I received. I took the people's name off of it because, again, that's not relevant as to ask the question. If you want to know, I can tell you privately. First one was about, in an effort to avoid confusion and misunderstanding, would you take a few minutes to explain the club members the approval process for expenditure of club funds for equipment and services? And then the other one was, what was the cause and the amount being spent for legal fees? So I've prepared and I've already responded to both of these members. I talked to one of them last night for over an hour about it. I talked to another one this morning via email back and forth 2 or 3 times. They both are satisfied with the answers I've given them. I wanted to give you those answers. So on the legal fees. So let me just walk through these 5 bullet points, and I hate to read to you, but I'm going to do it so we're clear. There was volatile board meeting in January. There's a lot of emotion. And there was increased activity with our legal fees, our ethics and grievance process, and ultimately threats of lawsuits. As a result, our legal and mediation fees increased to an abnormal level. So that's just a fact, okay? That's not pointing fingers at anybody, just telling you that's just a fact. Mediation fees were required given we didn't have an E&G community. You can question why we didn't and what the decision rights were, but that's a fact, okay? We had to hire a mediator for some of the E&G work. We also got an investigation process, which Lori talked about a little bit earlier today. Cost in this month's board deck, I just told you about the $60,000. I think it's going to go up further. I just don't know how much at this point. And the operational reserve, that's the exact reason we set that up, was to be able to deal with things like this so it wouldn't hurt the operation of the club's business. Excuse me, club's business. That's how I responded to the one on legal fees. As it relates to the question on the approval of expenses. So during the annual planning process, we budget for future expenditures. And the main way we do that is based upon our history and informed by anything that may change during the year. They actually asked about rental and one other category. So I put 2 examples in here. For example, rental and maintenance. We budgeted $4,300 for this year, and our 9-year running average is $9,000. It's lower because David Gully generously donated a copier to headquarters and we eliminated the lease. So those fees came down. So we are not budgeting in line with what we had done before from a historical standpoint because we eliminated a significant, not we, David eliminated a significant expense for us. Software subscriptions and tech support, we budgeted 35 grand this year. Our 9-year run rate's 24. Over the last 6 years, it's been 33. Mark Najum, he's scrutinizing all those. I've given all those to Mark. I said, here's all our subscriptions. One of the things that we're eliminating is board effect. As you all know, now we're using Zoom and other avenues. That'll save us about $7,000 a year. And then what I said down here in the bottom is things ebb and flow. We got hundreds and thousands of transactions that go on in our budgets all the time. What happens is if Lori's got an unexpected 2 grand or something that she's got to go spend for something on software maintenance, she and I talk about it. We understand the alternatives that she's taken. She put stuff out for bid, and then I approve her going to that, and I go try to find variances in other areas in the budget in order to cover it. So we're just managing it on a day in and day out basis. As I've told you all before, Lori and I meet every single Tuesday, and we go through things just like that. So that's the way I responded to the 2 questions. The new project that's underway. I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna do one more section and then I'm gonna pause. I know it's a lot, but let me get through it in the interest of time. So there's currently a new project underway. So banking controls. So we are putting in place a whole set of controls. We meet with our bankers every 2 weeks, a whole new set of banking controls in terms of the way we work with our banks and the way Lori works with the banks, and then the way the members get involved in that. So we're going to be establishing segregation of duties requirements, positive pay, independent review of bank recs. So the finance committee will now get involved and we'll review the bank recs independently of Lori and her staff every quarter. Signature authority standards and controls. So we make sure we know who's on what accounts, who has signature authority, who doesn't, what are the controls around that. We'll have monthly checklists. We'll have a new vendor review process that's independent of Lori and her team. And then we got standard procedures for ACH and wire that we'll put into a policy. So she's got an operational policy. So we're currently working on this with Craig Fegley and Christine Kirk. Christine Kirk, retired chief accounting officer, and Craig Fegley, who is a retired banking executive. So we're working on this project right now in terms of improving our controls as it relates to banking. And here's where I'm going to close you all out. So, okay, every year there's a requirement in our policy and bylaws, our bylaws and policies, to submit the club's annual treasury report to me and the headquarters staff. That has been done. And this is the summary of what the results of that are. So before I go into the results, in 2024, 15 of 105 clubs and none of the regions reported their information. So only 15 of the roughly 117. This year, we had a 300% increase. 40 of the clubs reported in 5 of the regions. So not perfection by any means, but that's a hell of a lot better than it has been in the past. So here's where the results are. So by region, here's the 12 regions. Okay, here's the number of clubs per region. The yes means here's who has reported their information to us, and the no is here who has not reported the information to us. So 40% of the clubs have reported, 60% have not. Your regions were at 40-60 as well, same as we are for the clubs. So that's where we are. We will reach out and we'll work on getting this tighter. We didn't want to put a heavy hammer on this thing. We wanted people to report it and hopefully understand what benefits we get from it. So here's some key statistics for you. Ending cash balances. And Michael G., you and I have talked about this a number of times about region balances. I've talked to you. I think I've talked to your treasurer in Region 9 as well. But the clubs, the average club cash balance is $9 grand. There's one club that's up at 43 and there's one as low as 300. So we've got a span, but the average club balance is $9 grand. In regions, it's 50, okay, for a region balance. There's one region that has 140 grand and there's another region that has $5,600. So this is where your averages are. Charitable giving. So clubs and regions do give to charity, and I'm curious as to what that looks like. Here's what it is. Same thing. One club gave 16 grand, another gave next to nothing. Clubs, $48 and 8 grand on the high side, and here's the average for those. So about almost 2 grand for clubs and almost 4 grand for regions in terms of charitable giving. Okay, just FYI. And then the last slide I've got for you is this one, dues revenue. When you look at the high end, there's one club that takes in $7,300 of dues, another takes in $200. The average is about $1,800 a year. And then the rally revenue, you can see the numbers down here, which are not, rally revenue is a tough thing because a lot of it's pass through, right? Pass through to campgrounds, whatever it happens to be. So That's a lot, I know, but I didn't have 2 hours to spend with you. So that's it for me. So I will take any questions y'all have got on anything I've gone over or I didn't go over. I'm happy to answer anything you've got.
No, we had a question. We don't have a question. Alan, we do have a question. Ken, what's your question?
Sorry, I'm pushing buttons here. My only thought and suggestion, because we've all been getting questions about the audit, is if it wouldn't be prudent to put out a request for proposal, a public request for proposal from CPA firms, giving us some bids on what it would cost to do an audit.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, Ken. The other option or the other idea I had is if we got, I'm making this up, so just bear with me, just was kind of a pie in the sky thing. We get 2 or 3 members that have a financial background that aren't affiliated with the finance committee or aren't affiliated in any way with me. And then you have them go, or Lori, and then or her staff, and then you have them go fly into Jackson Center for a week and start plowing through stuff. And then they report to Millie. They report directly to Millie about what they find as her as the president of the club. And then that won't save you $100,000, but it'll save you everything but their travel costs to get them up to, Jackson Center. You pay for plane tickets and some hotels. You might be able to do it all for 10, so is another idea. But Sean, what you got?
This is a question for EC member Johansson. What do you think members want, or what do you want from an audit? And having been 12 years with a public accounting firm, I guess I want to make sure we understand what the question is.
Well, again, you have to Alan was correct. You have to understand the purpose of an audit. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding as to what audits do. What an audit does is it gives the board a reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly accurate. And I agree with Alan. It does not necessarily look for fraud, but in their engagement letter, they say if they do find fraud, that they will report it. Right. So it's basically an opinion letter on the financial statements to make sure that the financial statements are correctly reported.
That's right. Correct. All right. All done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ken, thanks for your input on that. It is always a lot, and we're always ever mindful of that we are the keepers of the club, both financial and otherwise, and that we answer to the members. And we need to be sure that we can always do that professionally and in a timely fashion. Okay, we're going to do executive council reports. I know that Rachel Miller has a brief update on her committee work. Rachel, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready. Everybody can hear me okay? Yeah, so I just basically have a very brief thing that I want to give you a heads up on, just for feedback or opinions between now and what will be likely be an motion for our next meeting. One of the things that myself and what Amelia has appointed a special committee are working on is creating templates for annual and biannual reports that are due according to the Blue Book, from standing committees and intra-clubs, and just to make housekeeping easier on everyone, to get the reporting in and just make it really simple so we can focus on camping. One of the issues that came up is, as it stands in the Blue Book, intra-clubs are required to do what's called an annual state of the intra-club report, which includes a financial report. That is currently in the Blue Book as due for the fourth quarter meeting. The Finance Committee also requires everyone to submit annual financial reports by December 31st of the year. So where that creates an issue is it's essentially asking intra-clubs to do 2 annual financial reports at different timing. That makes it really difficult. I know that some of the intra-clubs I've worked with have had, it's just confusing, like, okay, what time period is being reported on the annual intra-club report versus what's being submitted to the finance committee. So the fix for that would simply be not changing anything else, but simply changing the report from being due in the fourth quarter to being due in the second quarter. It would still line up with standing committees because they owe reports the second quarter and the fourth quarter each year. They do 2 a year. Standing or intra-clubs would only do 1, but instead of the fourth, it would be the second, eliminating that confusion because we would set the template up that they just attach the financial report that was submitted at the end of that year, the prior year. So it's the same through thread on financial reports and reduces redundancies. So I want to put that out there for any opinions. If anyone has any thoughts or concerns or anything like that, because I'll be bringing that as a motion for the next meeting. And then the other thing, Millie, should I talk about the SIG now? Okay. So the other thing is in the EC meeting on April 1st, the EC approved in accordance with the Blue Book, the creation of a full-timer special interest group. Special interest groups are in the Blue Book, but they have not been very utilized. And the goal is that the full-timer SIG itself will have 3 scopes and functions. Member resource and education, so providing education about what full-timing is like through FAQs and different ACI channels. Community connection, so kind of serving as a bridge between ACI members, the broader full-time community, as well as enabling kind of informal member-driven connection within existing full-timers in ACI. And thirdly, event-based coordination. So full-timers, we already do, by the way, I'm a full-timer, we already do a lot of this stuff. So full-timer meetups at the International Rally. We've got, I think, 9 rigs currently positioned to meet at a park and caravan and together at International Rally. So what the special interest group does is just kind of formalizes that a little bit more and gives us more representation. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. And yep, there will be a pending microsite with more information and details, and as well as some FAQs we're going to build out for general members who would like to learn more about full-timing and what it's like and what it takes. And then thirdly, there are already full-timer kind of presentations at International Rally. And one of the things we're hoping to do is to have a panel where it's a panel of full-timers, and it's very interactive where general members can come and ask questions to know that there's not one right firm way to do this. There's flexibility and representing kind of different kind of modalities of it. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Rachel. This was definitely needed, and I know it's being handled beautifully by you and your committees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other EC members, I haven't received any other advance notice of reports. Do any of you have any other reports before we go on to the rest of the motions?
Millie, I think Jim Cox sent you a brief update.
For his, okay, hang on. I have my phone on silent, so I didn't see it.
If you want, I can read it.
No, I've got it. Jim reports that the CB&L committee report is there are no delinquent club CB&L reviews, thanks to the support over the past year from all region presidents and clubs and the dedicated work last year of the CB&L committee members. That's good progress right there. I love it. Thank you, Jim and committee. Thanks, Lori. Okay, we're going to roll back into motions, and I believe Cody Klingler, you're up.
Does Kendall's motion not come before mine?
Apologies,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yes.
Way to hold me accountable, Kendall.
Man, Cody, I'll let you go first. All right, this is
Up to
motion 2025-60. The title was Use for Airstream Club's Authorized Email Domain. Summary. This motion amends the
Make your motion first and then go to the background information.
motion. I move to amend bylaws Article 8 by adding a new section 12, items 1 through C, requiring the members of the IBT to conduct all WBCCI business through an authorized email address issued by the club as detailed in the exhibits below.
I'll second.
Summary. This motion amends the bylaws to require use of @airscreamclub.org for club business emails by all members of the International Board of Trustees. Purpose/impact. This improves the International Club's security against disruptions and expenses from incidents and ensures consistency, accountability, secure record keeping, and continuity during leadership transitions. Background. The high number of phishing and spoofing incidents involving internet accounts increases the likelihood of security compromises for the WBCCI data and communications systems. Every region and executive accounts representative is offered an airscreamclub.org email account from headquarters. Financial impact. The cost for providing emails is approximately $70 per account. The precise financial impact of a hacking incident is widely variable depending upon severity of the incident. Recently, the Caribbean Committee had an event that involved members' funds lost to a hacker. Sorry, Laurie, is there anything else I read?
I know you have the motion on the floor, so you could take questions.
Questions? Michael?
So you list $70 per person. What is the total amount, Kendall?
The total amount I do not know offhand.
Michael, I think we budget $7,000 or $8,000 a year for this.
Another one, if you don't mind. So it's more of a comment, and this came up around the Christmas holiday time also. I'm not convinced that an email address change is going to have an impact on the spam emails. And why I say that is typically I did not get any spam emails from the club when I was just a regular member. It only started happening when I came on to the IBT. However, during the holiday season and more recently, my wife has been getting spoof emails from the club, from Millie and others. And the obvious check is if you look at the email address, it's definitely not Millie. It's pretty obvious, but I'm not convinced that an email address change is going to fix that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Johansson?
Yeah, I have just an observation. It seems like every time I get an email from the office or whatever, I get a request from Millie to send money or meet with her or that sort of thing. So I wonder if we have some internal issues with all that's generating these emails.
Thank you. Is there anything else, Ken? I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, like I said, it just seems like it happens right after, within minutes of getting an email from the office.
Bill Hamlin?
So I'll start saying I support this. I saw Mark's hand go up shortly after mine, so I'll be brief because I'm sure he can say it better than me. But I mean, I know we did talk about some of this at the strategy session and address some ways that, maybe not externally, but certainly internally, there's some more controls we can put in place to help safeguard the board from some email issues if we're all using .org emails. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, I'm one side. I'm with Michael in the sense that like making everybody use an airstreamclub.org email address isn't going to reduce the spam that we receive, right? The fact that we are leadership of a club that has significant funds available is like a known fact to scammers, right? I get thousands of scam emails because I have a day job that also involves money. And so I just have to, it's part of modern life. That said, there are a number of things that we are doing and have to be better about. One of them is like we only since Christmas have better control and like fixed our DKIM and SCIF. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but basically our email spam filtering, like interactions with other internet email providers, which will help tag these things as more likely to be spam. It's not going to go away. I know this is not going to help. What will help, however, is when accounts do get compromised. In this case, there is a way to actually recover them, right? In addition, there's as Kendall mentioned, I believe continuity is like a key thing, right? If a president rolls over or goes away, like their email for business purposes remains the same. And they basically get to we were able to like restore their email address and access for the next region president, or for the region president that has lost their access controls. We have none of that today. There's like, for people that don't use it and go away, like we have no idea like that they're how to help them out, or how to help the club out. And so that, I think for me, like it's a two-sided battle. The third part is that in general, I think we've been very lax, as was pointed out by Kendall earlier today as well. We're pretty lax about giving people access to like membership directories, and clubs and regions have been incredibly bad at sharing those membership lists, newsletters, and other information on their public pages, including full membership lists on email lists, putting everybody on twos and CCs. And it basically makes us a giant known tree of information, or tree of control, right? So I think we need to like have another review of all the access controls that we give. We need to have better control of like who gets access to membership lists and how they are distributed. And we may need to switch to private pages, or private or protected pages only for all content, because I just keep catching people that put PDFs online of newsletters that contain full membership lists, and they're public. We need to do something about that, because it can't, like, apparently it's not getting better. People are innocently just oversharing information that is easily picked up by scammers. I see your hand up again, Michael.
Michael?
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. One of the comments you made, I'm going to give a two-part answer to. Fundamentally, I think it's good to have synergy from one leader rolling into another leader. There's a little gotcha in there, and I'll use a real life situation. In my region, I've had to deal with 2 grievances in my region, and those grievances would be in that email address. It would be inappropriate for the incoming leader to have access to old information due to confidentiality.
I can address that. Michael, one of the things, the way that we're using email addresses now, for example, mine, modonnell@airstreamclub.org. A new president comes in after my term, it would be the president's name @airstreamclub.org. For the region presidents, currently, when they use Region 1 president @Airstream Club, or @Yahoo, or @Google, whatever they originally were using, that password was switched to the next person and so forth. And that would exactly be what you're talking about. The chance for someone to read an old email, read a grievance that was frankly not theirs to observe. When we set up an email for Michael Ginta @airstreamclub.org, you don't pass that to the next region president that comes in after you. So they wouldn't be able to read your past emails. Kendall, did I get that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Lori?
We are not doing individual emails for region presidents. It's a region president email that will be continuity and passed down. That's how the structure was talked about back in
What we discussed at the strategy session. We can talk about that after the meeting. Any other questions?
I've got a quick one, Millie. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I can't quite see the screen. This is Patty. Kendall, real quick, does that, I'm assuming it does, but does it extend with me as the region president, like corresponding with my VPs and treasurers and members? I mean, is it from top to bottom all the way through when we're talking about official business?
Mark, correct me on this. I think we were setting up the regions to have their own distribution channel.
Yes, we can, and there are some regions and even some clubs that have done that. They get email groups if they want to have their own. And email groups don't actually cost the club anything financially.
Correct. John
If
D.
you want a distribution group like IBT ad or EC ad like we have today, we can do similar things for region groups. And I recognize Michael's comment about and I think it's a good way of pointing out there's some inconsistency in the motion around like whether it's a general email for a region president or a personal one. I think we have to get that clarified.
And that's my comment also, that a general email address is I don't prefer that. I'd rather have a specific name for me because of confidentiality, if nothing else.
What do you need?
Rachel?
Hi, thanks. So I just want to speak in support of this motion. Any boards I've ever served on, and certainly organizations that are of this size with this many moving parts, having individual Gmails or ATT addresses or whatever is a huge, huge risk. And I take seriously my role as a trustee that our oversight responsibilities involve mitigating risk. And so having just random emails, especially free email accounts that have zero protections around them, and same thing with Mark said with the lists, protecting member data is hugely, hugely important. And so I do believe that has to be a top priority above all. I think the benefits far, far, far outweigh any restrictions that it might bring. The other thing is it just, in my personal opinion, the club has struggled with handoff. So transition from one leader to the other, whether it's committees or regions or intra-clubs, it is something that I have heard resounding over and over again of new folks that take leadership positions, and they're like, I have no access to what has been happening even over the last 6 months, let alone a couple of years. I don't know logins to anything. I don't know what software we have engaged in. I have no, and trying to get that is exhausting enough that we've had leaders then exit because of that issue. So having continuity by having emails is not only is it the email itself, but the other thing that's happening in some of those how-tos that HQ put out that are in the meeting packets, I have a read, is that centralizing where information is stored. So, you know, we're looking at SharePoint now, but there is OneDrive, there's other things and products that come with that email account that where things can be stored and can be accessed. This might ruffle a few feathers, but as far as leadership is concerned, like the ethics and grievance, you know, we're kind of working on that. I think the whole system is clunky. I'm happy to speak more to that outside of this meeting, but I think having leaders, we need to be mindful of who we are promoting into certain leadership roles. And if we do not think that they could be responsible with certain information that could be there, then maybe that they shouldn't be in that role. If there is another issue that comes up with a member, there's a history there, that is going to be a lot easier for that leader to have awareness and knowledge of that. And I'm not saying that, you know, we just blow things out and everybody's business because everyone's business, but, you know, there is something about being mindful of when we are filing grievances, who has access to that information, but also that is related to leadership continuity, just like everything else. So that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, thank you.
Susan?
Hi, I just wanted to kind of echo what Rachel was just saying, that on leadership continuity. From what I understand, the EC already has their name and their Airstream Club address. And what we talked about strategy is the region presidents would get the same. So I just want to get clarity on if that's true.
That is what we discussed in strategy. You are correct. Lori?
Yeah, if that's how we're gonna do it, that's fine, but we're gonna need to up our budget. Since these will not be carrying over every year, we're gonna be adding and adding and adding to the licensing of our Microsoft emails. We do go through an audit every year to see who's using it, who's not using it, but overall, I'd say we need to up our annual budget $2,500 at least if we're going to do per name instead of having per role. So that's all. Thank you.
Correct me, when we discussed this in strategy session, it was in the budget to do the 12 region presidents. They don't keep it forever, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've not purchased emails before. If I'm Region 1 president and I have my name and then I roll off the next region president, it changes to their name. You're not adding another one, you're changing the name on it. Is that not correct?
No, that is not correct. If we just change the name, then that person's going to have all the history. So if we change the display name there, they'll have all the history. So no, we will have to start and close licensing, which we do it all the time. It's not a big deal. I was not under, and I know our template or our how-to guide on airstreamclub.org that I published back in January, I had the generic role based, not individual based. That's what we had listed because that was the direction I thought we were going. But no, we will have to add some, which is fine. We can manage it. I just want to make you all aware of that is something that we'd have to keep in mind.
Question relates to if I pass an email address on to someone, am I not deleting old emails? I would certainly not leave a confidential email in there for someone else to read. A cleanup would behoove the owner of the email to be judicious. Sean, you had a question? You disappeared. Susan came back.
Well, you clarified that you and I had the same question, so I put my
Okay.
hand down. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say that as we talked about, Millie, like if we carry on, if we want to save money, it'd be the same for the EC, right? It could be the president instead of Millie and so on and so forth. So that's where I don't understand the difference between the EC having their name and keeping it versus the region presidents. Same privacy issues, same continuity, all of the things. That's where I'd like to get clarity.
Her current policy is just, or policy or practice has been, once an EC member is issued a .org email address, they keep that address as long as they want to use it, as long as they're active in the club. Some have kept them because they're in other roles within the club, and others have forfeited it. So again, when they forfeit it, then we reissue that license to somebody else. That's how the practice has been for the last 3 years, 4 years. Again, changeable, all changeable.
Thanks. Well, and this is just as a thought. I have to think about all of this more. And I know I don't feel like we quite landed the plane at strategy, but one of the reasons why region presidents and EC would be different is region presidents are doing 2 roles. What I kind of describe it as you're kind of like operating upward as far as the IBT. You're also operating downward as far as head of a region board and all of your members. So there's a lot of continuity there as far as files and finances and accessibility that would be available if that's all kept in one in SharePoint, so that your first VPs and however can access that. Now, there's a couple of ways people will sometimes do that. Sometimes, even if it's generic, they'll have the whole board that has access to that to make sure emails are answered and monitored. Or you just have it where just the designated president has it and disseminates information from there. EC would be different because the only alternative to make those generic would be EC member 1, EC member 2, EC member 3, right? Because where the EC is different, it's elected by the whole membership and their individual positions. I mean, I might be thinking about this wrong, but that I don't know how there would be a more generalized way, and there's no need for individual to individual continuity on the executive council. So that's just my thoughts on it, but
My question, Tracy, I see your hand. Hold on one second. My question to you, Kendall, is in order to pass this motion or not pass this motion, as the case may be, we don't necessarily need to iron out what the emails are going to look like, just that we are going to use club emails. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Tracy?
I'll just mention that, if we make the change so that the region presidents have a personalized airstream.org account, then that might be slightly problematic with how communications work, because right now, in my region, we have a region domain or region airstream.org domain, but all correspondence still come to my personal address, even from the club, because that's how the correspondence, I guess, engine works. I don't know, but I don't exactly know if a club president elected to pay for a personalized airstream.org account, how it would be put into the directory, so to speak, so that they would receive email there that was club related versus their membership related things that come from their personal email address. I'm not sure if I made that clear. I'm on a few medications right now, so my cold may be befuddled. But anyway, I don't know how that truly all meshes together, and I'm sure that one of you, Mark or someone, Kendall, can maybe make that easier, but it seems kind of difficult to me.
Millie, I don't think we're hearing you say Michael. I saw your
Thank you.
mouth.
I think that to make this clear is we need to have a clear financial impact on the motion to vote on it cleanly. And I would recommend that we review this, have a clear understanding of the financial impact. So when we vote on it, we're all signing up for what that is without an unknown number that isn't clear based on the discussions I'm hearing today. Thank you.
Good. David?
David, I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, Michael said 80% of what I was fixing to say. From what I'm hearing is from Mark that, the scams will still be going on because I've been monitoring it. I get majority from Millie, and I've told her repeatedly, if she needs something, just call me. She doesn't have to send those emails.
Send me
But
money.
all the spam emails I've gotten lately have come from people that are associated with that account. I agree with Michael. If we're going to do this for the regions individually, which otherwise I don't see how that the confidentiality would ever work. And then we've got the VPs coming on. I would like to see a financial overview of this. We've argued in the past over motions for $1, and now we're talking about, $10,000 or more a year here now. And I also know in the past, someone quoted that all the airstream.org emails are monitored and tracked, which I think may be good, may be bad. But I'd like to know more about how they are monitored and tracked, and how, if they are monitored and we are tracking everyone's airstream.gov emails, how are those available for us? Thank you.
You want to be the last one on this, and then we can get moving on?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if we are going through with talking more about financial impact, the current motion already does address this a little bit, but I want to ensure that we also address the potential financial impact if we do not appropriately manage risk. And that is beyond just spam email. So I just want to make that request, that we also talk about potential liabilities and costs if we don't manage it. Thank you.
I'm reviewing questions online. Okay. Kendall, ball's in your court.
respectfully, I ask that we table it so we can do financial analysis and report back to the board on the positives and the negatives not doing it.
Good idea.
Numbers.
Fair enough. Thank you. Cody, you're up.
I really hope this one's a little bit easier for everybody. All right, this is motion 2026-07. I move to amend policy 16.6.12, window signs, executive council, and region officers to eliminate the statement that each incoming member of the IBT and the region's new vice presidents shall receive a window sign displaying their title from HQ. The purpose and impact. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I need a second. My apologies.
A second.
Was that you, Rachel?
Yeah, that was me.
Thank you.
Rachel.
Thank you. The purpose and impact. This eliminates an outdated requirement and expense for providing signs. The remainder of the policy will continue to detail the size and colors for the signs should trustees or region vice presidents elect to obtain and display the signs. Background. Policy 16.6.12 applies to IBT members and region vice presidents. The club has not been providing window signs for several years. Prior to 2022, the club ordered and paid for all new trustees and region vice presidents to have a 12x6 sign to place in the window of their Airstream recreational vehicle. The signs became rarely utilized by trustees and region vice presidents in the last 6 years. Financial impact. Savings of approximately $1,000 per year based on 18 signs at roughly $45 on the even years, and then 24 signs at roughly $45 on the odd years would be the savings. And there is no IT impact.
There, I'm fixing to ask you a question.
Are there any questions? David?
Yes, sir. I use mine religiously, and I know some other members of my region. If we take this expense off the club, would we be able to, as a region president or VP, still be able to call the club and possibly order one at our own expense, like if we needed a new badge or a new directory or something? My fear on this motion is if everybody just starts printing their own, there is no telling what they're going to look like, and we're going to lose what, that's just like saying, let everybody print your own region president flag. Well, I think that would be a disaster. And it kind of, because if we're asking them to go out on an open market and go to a print shop and order a tag, we can't even go to where all that will go. Well, I'd like to keep the continuity because, again, the history part of this is important to me. This is something, and I understand if we want to take the $1,000 a year off the club, I'm fine with that. But I'd like to still have the option for a sitting officer to be able to call the club on a one-to-one basis, pay, even if they pay for it themselves, so we can all, the ones that want to use it and utilize this, we can all use it, and they will all still look the same.
Lori, can you chime in on that?
We can look. We haven't ordered signs from here since I think 2022 was the last time.
I'm not sure if you're asking me or Lori Tilton.
I'm sorry, Lori Tilton. My apologies.
We haven't ordered window signs. I think it was 2022 was the last year we did that, or 2023. I don't even know if our vendor still carries them, but it's something that if that's the wish of the board, we can figure that out. But I think it's been 22 is when the last time we ordered any kind of window signs.
Millie?
Thank you, Cody. If your motion clarifies what these signs need to look like, what the parameters are, so that we keep them historically correct, a person should be able to go to an outside vendor and order the exact correct plate, so that, like David says, we keep it consistent and we don't end up with all sorts of crazy wackadoodle signs.
Yeah, I will address that. It does give color schemes to that. It does not say anything about specific layouts, but it does give, does say that the international president has to be a specific color, executive council members have to be specific colors, region presidents, and then region vice presidents have to be a specific colors. Bill?
Yeah, I was just gonna say basically the same thing. It calls out, reading through it, it calls out the color scheme. It also calls out size, and then up in part of the amended language, it says it does not say that this is going away. It just says that if individuals want to use them, they'd furnish them at their own expense, and they should generally follow the color schemes and size listed below. So that's what's already stated there now.
And I just want to remind everyone before I get to you, Lori Tilton, that this does not impact badges.
And they
This is just for
the color schemes
this
listed below.
Correct.
That's what's already stated there now.
Lori Tilton. I just want to remind everyone before I get to you, Lori Tilton, that this does not impact badges.
And
this is just for
the color schemes
this.
listed
We got a
below.
bleed over. We have a bleed over going on. Somebody, what's going on? Cody, where'd you go? Yeah, I lost you on my screen.
There.
What I was going to say is that I could call our vendor that we used to, I can reach out to them where we used to order these signs to see if they still do them. And if so, would they take orders directly from officers or how they would do that? I mean, I could do that if we're looking at having still the same consistent layout.
Robert?
Well, something else that might be added in this, I don't know if it's possible, but would be an actual picture or two of the layout. Because you get into font, you get into design, you get into the edge cutting because they're multiple layered, white on red or white on whatever. So it may be that you need to have a little more definition somewhere for myself or someone else to follow as we step up. I do happen to use mine. As a matter of fact, we haven't been making them, and I took mine that said vice president and filled in the vice, and it says president now. So frugality kicked in. But anyway, just a thought. Thank you.
David.
I think that's it for, oh, no, David, one more question.
Yeah, that's what I agree. We need to be careful, and have a guideline like what we just said, because, I think guidelines can be followed if it's something the club is providing. I think if we say this is the guideline and then people don't follow that guideline, and then, be like other issues, who's going to monitor who's flying what kind of tag, and then, how is that going to be addressed? And I'm scared if people start thinking they can go produce documents that have the club's name, an officer's name, and title on it, and if that's something we can freely produce ourselves, that will bleed over into different people starting making their own name badges.
And this doesn't address badges. This is just strictly to show that the club is no longer going to provide this item. We are not at this point restricting other people from purchasing the item. And it does give the guidelines for the size and colors of said item, if that clarifies. Bill?
And also what positions.
Correct.
So it does specify that, but it doesn't go into the detail on the design and layout.
Okay. Cody, you want to proceed?
With that, I'm going to go ahead and ask to withdraw this motion. And what we'll do is in a subsequent put back in, I will have some templates drawn up based off of current what looks and whatnot, so we can approve it as that as well to have a uniform look across the board.
And on the past one for Kendall, I neglected to do a vote for the withdrawal. So does everybody agree? Can we have a vote to table this motion temporarily?
So you can just withdraw it without a vote, or you can vote to table. So those are the things. And my apologies, I'm having huge internet trouble and bleed over.
Okay, I think a lot of us are having some internet issues today. It's got to be the moon. Okay, then Cody, you're going to withdraw for now?
Yes.
Okay.
And does your seconder agree? Whoever seconded it.
That was me. I do not agree. I am concerned that a lot of motions are just not getting done, and I don't feel like nothing is changing. The language and all of the descriptions are the same as they've always been in there. The only thing that Cody is proposing is that the expense and sourcing
you
is
can't-
from them.
You don't really debate a withdrawal, so I'll
Oh,
interrupt
sorry.
you.
I thought we were still in discussion.
Well, no, you've moved to, he moved to withdraw and you declined, so now you need to go to a
Got it.
vote to lay it on the table if Cody chooses to move to lay it on the table. So it is easier if you accept the withdraw to reconsider, or you go to a vote to lay on the table.
Okay. Well, Cody's a motion maker, so I accept
So
the motion to table.
So it's withdrawn. Kendall needs to officially withdraw his previous motion and the seconder needs to agree.
You muted, Kendall.
Yes, I am. I move to withdraw my motion 2025-60. And I think Bill Hamlin was my second.
I agree.
He was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also withdrawn. Sorry, we'll get better at this. Okay, next up we have Tom Smithson and the 2026.06. Is Tom with us?
Yes. Tom, you are muted. There you go.
I'm trying to turn the video on. Thank you very much.
Now you're muted again.
All right, there we go. All right, it's been a long time since I've sat before this august body, but we go from there. The Ethics and Grievance Committee is proposing a motion.
Excuse me, Tom, you need to read your motion first.
I'm going to read the motion. Motion to move to delete ACI bylaws, Article 5, Section 1, Part D, and insert a revised Article 5, Section 1D as stated in Exhibit 1. Purpose of this. The current language dealing with the complaints, dealing with the ACI-sponsored Facebook group and any other ACI-sponsored social media site is ambiguous and unclear as to who is responsible for addressing a complaint. Background. Recently, 2 complaints were filed against the ACI as the sponsor for the ACI Facebook group. Neither of which should have been addressed at the international level. Both should have been handled by the administrators of the ACI Facebook group. However, due to a lack of clarity in Article 5, section dealing with Facebook or other social media complaints, they were sent to the Ethics and Grievance Committee. The proposed motion is a revision of this Article 5, Section 1D to clarify the language as to who is responsible for addressing complaints about ACI-sponsored and administered social media pages. Any questions?
Carry on.
Not seeing any questions.
It's seconded by a committee, so if there's no questions, you could move to a vote.
Okay. We have no questions. Can we move to a vote to accept motion 2026-06? Do you want Kendall to do the vote, or are we just
Well,
doing
you
with
could
Joe?
try for without objection, or Kendall needs to do a roll call, either way.
Without objection? I'm scrolling through. I see no objections. The motion passes.
We got a hand up.
Oh, we have a hand up. David? You're muted.
David, you
I
still.
still have a lot of questions about this that I'm not, can we call for a roll call vote, please, sir? Because I would object.
Then
Yes.
Millie, not hearing you.
Kendall, you want to call for a roll call vote?
Of course. Past President Watts,
Mona, you're muted. Yes.
Region 7 President Olson,
Yes. Yes,
and that was Chuck Zellmeyer in place for.
that's correct.
I'll make that change. Region 6 President Gully,
No.
Executive Council Member Jarrett,
Yes.
Executive Council Member Johansson,
No.
Region 8 President O'Connor,
Yes.
Executive Council Member Shaw.
I think he had to leave for work.
Okay. Vice President Hefner,
Yes.
Region 5 President Deegan,
Yes.
Region 11 President Holly. Holly's not present, so Region 11 Vice President Jurgensen,
Yes.
Secretary Felder, yes. Councilmember Hamlin,
Yes.
Region 1 President Junta.
No.
I'm sorry, it was muted. I didn't quite hear the answer.
No.
No. Region 4 President Pasfa,
No.
Executive Councilmember Klingler,
Yes.
Region 2 President Galupo,
Yes.
Executive Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Region 3 President Ely,
No.
Region 12 President Bloom,
Yes.
Region 10 President McPhee,
Yes.
Region 9 President Elkins.
Yes.
And just to check to make sure, did I miss anyone? All right, so the vote is 15 voting yes and 5 voting no.
Thought I counted 16.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom, and your committee. We appreciate your work on this.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Do we have any other, well, I have one bit of unfinished business that you're going to need to adjust your calendars. The meetings being held on Thursdays are IBT meetings. If you look forward into your calendar, bump one day. We're going to move to Wednesdays. Hopefully that doesn't cause any undue stress for anybody, but it's going to be easier for us all to be present and accounted for on a Wednesday. Cool. Anybody else? Do our region presidents have any big announcements from their regions they'd like to give? Michael?
Thank you, Millie. Yeah, Region 1 officially launched the Region 1 rally at Gunstock Mountain Resort this September from the 9th through the 13th. This is a very different rally for the region. First is it's not at a fairground type environment. It is actually at a resort type environment, which is different to us in Region 1. We have it's a beautiful location. It's nestled in the Lakes region of New Hampshire. That time of September is probably the best early weeks of the year. It still feels like summer, but it's not the craziness of the high traffic season of the vacationers. They've all kind of gone home at that point in time. We have a live comedian coming in, morning yoga. We have some regional activities with the orchards, the apple picking, the apple cider donuts. Any of you who are trying to beat the heat in the South or the other parts of the country, this will be a very temperate type of climate, warm days, cool nights, great for sleeping. And we have Airstream Corporate attending the event to give a speech, and Blue Compass Corporation is going to be another key sponsor to the event. This is going to be very different. I think it's going to be special and unique, and I welcome all of you to join us. Thank you.
Michael? Michael, what are the dates for that?
September 9th through the 13th.
Very good.
Thank you, Millie.
David? David?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Region 6, we've been very active. Fortunately, our weather has cooperated a little more. I've already attended 5 of my unit's rallies already this year, started in February. So we've been very busy. We have more coming up. We have caravans coming up. We have gotten set up and planned for our international rally luncheon. I was glad to get done. And we've sold out our Region 6 rally. We're on a wait list, and we're actively going through that wait list. The resort has been more than helpful on giving us more campsites as they become available. So everything's great, and we're very busy in Region 6. And as always, everyone here is welcome to join us at any of our events. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? I know Ed O'Connor's getting ready for a region rally in Kansas because I'm signed up. I'm almost ready to roll north.
Yeah, we're expecting royalty at our region rally. That starts next Wednesday in Hutchinson, Kansas, and we're ready for you, Millie.
I heard you were hitting some thrift stores. If you know me, that's my jam.
All right.
Anyone else? Okay. Lori Grassi, I think if we have this agenda handled, this might be a record breaker at 12:10. Can I move to adjourn? Nobody wants to go. There's no second to adjourn?
I'll second.
There we
it.
go. Thank you very much, all. I appreciate you being here, your time and your effort. Stay safe out there on the roads, and we'll be traveling to you soon. Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
guys.